I have short videos I just wanted to play.
Of immigrants. We're also a nation of laws. Undocumented workers broke our immigration laws, and I believe that they must be held accountable.
If they've committed a crime, deport them. No questions asked, they're gone.
No great nation can be in a position where they can't control their borders.
While we need to address the issue of immigration and the challenge we have of undocumented people in our country, we certainly don't want any more coming in.
Every place in this country are rightly disturbed by the large numbers of illegal aliens entering our country. The jobs they hold might otherwise be held by citizens or legal immigrants. The public service they use impose burdens on our taxpayers. That's why our administration has moved aggressively to secure our borders more, by hiring a record number of new border guards, by deporting twice as many criminal aliens as ever before, by cracking down on illegal hiring, by barring welfare benefits to illegal aliens.
Illegal immigration is wrong, plain and simple. When we use phrases like undocumented workers, we convey a message to the American people that their government is not serious about combating illegal immigration, which the American people overwhelmingly oppose. If you don't think it's illegal, you're not going to say it. I think it is illegal and wrong.
Open the borders, my God. You know, there's a lot of poverty in this world, and you're going to have people from all over the world, and I don't think that's something that we can do at this point. Can't do it.
Yes or no, would you allow the cities to ignore the federal law?
No.
We simply cannot allow people to pour into the United States undetected, undocumented, unchecked, and circumventing the line of people who are waiting patiently, diligently, and lawfully to become immigrants in this country.
Today's clip opens with a big claim that the political narrative is about to collapse in real time. But labeling something a narrative can be a tactic itself, encouraging viewers to doubt one side before the evidence is even heard. Here, the target is Congressman Jamie Raskin, a constitutional lawyer who often argues that democracy depends on transparency and accountability. So the real question isn't who says the truth the loudest. It's whose argument actually holds up when the facts are examined. If you believe politics should still be grounded in evidence and accountability, hit subscribe and join the conversation.
But abandoning victims and coddling perpetrators is what you do best. When the FBI opened a criminal investigation into the brutal killing in Minneapolis of Renee Good, a poet and 37-year-old mother of 3, by Trump's masked paramilitary ICE agents, you shut it down. You claim you're investigating the cold-blooded murder of Alex Preddy, an ICU nurse at the VA. But how can we trust the administration when the president and Kristi Noem called Preddy a domestic terrorist and Stephen Miller called him a would-be assassin? Not only do you refuse to share evidence with the state and local investigators and prosecutors in Minnesota, you have blocked their access to the crime scene and the evidence. How are you seeking justice for Mariamar Martinez, the Montessori school teacher in Chicago who was shot 5 times by a Border Patrol agent who bragged about it on text? Or the family of Keith Porter, a father of 2 shot and killed by an off-duty ICE agent in LA? Or the family of Silverio Villegas Gonzalez, shot and killed in Illinois minutes after he dropped his kids off at school? There's no sign of any movement at the Department of Justice. You even launched a criminal investigation into Renee Good's grieving widow. How sick is that? But it's even worse. You've turned the People's Department of Justice into Trump's instrument of revenge. Trump orders up prosecutions like pizza, and you deliver every time. He tells you to go after James Comey, Letitia James, Lisa Cook, and Jerome Powell, the head of the Federal Reserve Board, and members of Congress like Adam Schiff, Mark Kelly, Alyssa Slotkin, Chrissy Houlihan, Jason Crow, Chris Deluzio, and Maggie Goodlander, to name a few, and you snap to it. You replace real prosecutors with counterfeit stooges who robotically do the president's bidding. Nothing in American history comes close to this complete corruption of the justice function and contamination of federal law enforcement.
Now, listen to the shift in tone. The reaction we just heard tries to dismiss Jamie Raskin's argument as nothing more than emotional storytelling, loaded language, tragic cases, and a dramatic conclusion about the Justice Department. But here's the key question in a democracy. When public officials raise allegations about law enforcement power, are they inventing a narrative or demanding accountability? Because historically, oversight of agencies like ICE or the Department of Justice hasn't come from silence. It comes from lawmakers asking uncomfortable questions when lives, investigations, or civil rights may be involved. And this is where the contradiction appears. On one hand, critics say enforcement agencies should be trusted to do their job. On the other hand, democratic systems are built on the idea that no agency operates without scrutiny. Congress questioning federal power isn't theater. It's one of the core checks written into the Constitution. So the real issue isn't whether someone used strong language in a hearing. The real issue is whether the claims being raised deserve examination, evidence, and transparency. Because when the power of the state is involved, accountability isn't optional. It's the safeguard that keeps democracy functioning.
Attorney General Bondi, my colleagues on the other side of the aisle have spent the past several months attacking the administration for doing exactly what the American people wanted when they overwhelmingly elected President Trump, securing our border and enforcing our immigration laws. I find it a bit ironic because this is the same party who just a few years ago were openly supporting strong immigration enforcement after witnessing criminal illegal aliens wreak havoc on the American communities.
Listen closely to what's being said here. The claim is that critics, including Jamie Raskin and the cable news crowd, are attacking the administration simply for enforcing immigration law and securing the border. But the debate in American politics has rarely been about whether borders should exist or laws should be enforced. Leaders from both parties have supported enforcement at different times. It's the methods that spark controversy. The real disagreement is about how enforcement happens, the policies used, the treatment of migrants, and whether actions respect constitutional rights and humanitarian standards. Buzzwords like cruel, racist, or authoritarian are often applied, but they target the methods, not the principle of border security itself. So when Jamie Raskin and others raise these concerns, they're not rejecting national sovereignty. They're insisting on accountability. And in a democracy, that scrutiny is exactly what keeps power in check.
General Bondi, what's the Trump administration DOJ doing to end the open border policies of the prior administration that saw dangerous drugs and criminal aliens flood our communities?
Congressman, President Trump has worked tirelessly, as you know, to close our border, which is what the Democrats had asked for in that video. President Trump closed our borders on day one. He is protecting Americans. He is protecting our kids from the influx of drugs that were flowing into this country from Mexico. The fentanyl precursors that were coming from China. These precursors were taken from China into Mexico. And in Mexico, they were mixed and freely taken right into our country, along with gang members, MS-13, TDA, freely coming into our cities around our country, thanks to Joe Biden's open border policies. That has stopped under Donald Trump. It will no longer happen under this administration, and he is doing everything to keep Americans safe. And let me continue. When he was elected overwhelmingly by the American people, the majority of the American people wanted Donald Trump. One of the main reasons was border security and keeping Americans safe. And that's exactly what he did. And that's why today the other side sits here, they yell, they cut me off, they want to yell, they want to ask a question and don't want answers because they want to distract from all the great things that this president and this administration working hand in hand, and that includes Secretary Noem, who has closed our borders, and Tom Homan, who has closed our borders to keep Americans safe. And they're trying to distract from that, and they're not going to do it because the American people are smarter than that, and they see through their theatrics.
Hold on. Here's the plain truth in this moment. The argument being made is that border security only became extreme when Donald Trump made it a priority. But controlling a nation's borders has always been a basic function of sovereignty. When drugs, traffickers, and gangs cross unchecked, a country isn't just failing policy, it's failing its own citizens. And here's the real contrast. Jamie Raskin goes full courtroom mode, sharing tragic stories and framing every enforcement action as automatically evil. But where is the same scrutiny on the policies that created the chaos in the first place? The lapses, the weak oversight, the incentives that allowed crime and illegal entry to flourish. They want outrage. They want sound bites. They don't want solutions. Trump's approach, as presented here, is straightforward. Enforce the law, prioritize citizens, protect kids, and stop rewarding illegal entry. That isn't revenge, it's governance. And in a democracy, the test isn't who yells the loudest. It's whether policy actually delivers security, fairness, and accountability. So think critically and ask yourself, are you buying the theatrics, or are you ready to look at the policies themselves? That's the choice democracy asks of us.